Thank you. Welcome to Film USA. My name is Tony Armour, along with Katie Pryor, here somewhere, one of the co-founders of Film USA. And what we are is the National Film Commission organization. We have, and excuse my 14-year-old boy voice today. We have 17 film commissions from across the United States here today. I'm the Dallas, Texas Film Commissioner. We have Katie, who's Baton Rouge, Fort Lauderdale, wide variety. So if you want to talk to any film commissions, we have Arizona and Colorado here as well. If you want to talk to any film commissions about filming in the United States, come find any one of us or come inside and get some information. And we're really excited to partner with Stage 32, who we've been longtime partners with. And I'm going to bring up Amanda to introduce our panelists. And we'll get started. So thank you for your patience. And applause.
It's like herding cats, getting the panels together. Hi guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever you are feeling, depending on where it was that you flew in from. My name's Amanda Toney. I'm the Managing Director of Stage 32, and as Tony mentioned, we are proud partners with Film USA. And I'm curious, how many of you are Stage 32 members here in the audience? Hell yeah, I love it, I love it. So we have been a proud education partner of the Cannes Film Festival, Marche du Film, now for 8 years. And yeah, thank you very much. And so with your badges, you'll get a free Stage 32 webinar today. So make sure you check your emails when we're done with Cannes, and you'll be able to take advantage of our incredible education. For those of you who aren't familiar with Stage 32, we are an online social network similar to LinkedIn, but specifically for the entertainment industry. And we have over 1 million members worldwide from all over the world. So it's the perfect hub for you to connect with people, to learn, and to find work and find collaborators for your projects. All right, so today we have a very exciting panel. We put together four people who are on the producing teams of films that are in competition for Palme d'Or, all on one stage. How exciting! And so we've got some really great insights. And the person that I thought would be perfect to moderate this panel is our very own founder and CEO of Stage 32, Richard R.B. Botto. That's you, R.B. So for those of you guys who don't know RB, he is the brainchild behind Stage 32, started it over 13 years ago, has watched this blossom to 1 million people. The great thing about RB is that he is a creative just like you. He's a screenwriter. He has an original television series that he has set up at Amblin, so super excited about that. As a producer, he's had films that have won at Sundance. He was a producer on Tim Levinson's first film. And again, he's a creative just like you. So he'll be hitting the questions that I know everybody in this audience is going to be thinking from our panelists. So RB, I'm going to turn it over to you, and we'll see you guys on Stage 32.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm just going to bring the panelists up. I mean, just come on up. Why waste time? All right, how's everybody feeling today? Who's a little hungover? Okay, we have 4 amazing panelists today. Obviously, as Amanda said, everyone on this panel has worked on a film that is in competition here for the Palme d'Or. So we're going to get into a little of their history, a little of the background, a little bit about the films. And, I like to keep things interactive, so we don't have to wait till the end. If you guys have questions, if you're going to raise your hand during it, that's fine. But we will do a Q&A at the end as well. So Jesse, introduce me. So I'm going to ask you guys to not only introduce yourself, but also to give a little bit of a background about how you came to producing and, your origin story, a little bit of, breaking in as a producer.
Well, first, I just want to say thank you so much for having all of us here today, this beautiful sunny pavilion at Cannes, and congrats to my fellow panelists on your films. It's amazing. It's my first time here at Cannes, so I'm very excited. This is working? Yeah. My name is Jessamine Burgum, and I kind of interesting way of getting into producing. My background is in acting. I studied classical acting at the Guthrie in Minneapolis and at Shakespeare's Globe in London. Woo, yay! Love to see it. Thank you. And I was one of those crazy kids that always knew what I wanted to do, and I was lucky to be born to a family that supported me in that. And so when I moved to LA after graduation to pursue that, I was, not particularly stirred by the content I was seeing. And I'd always dreamed of having a production company, but I thought that you had to be Reese Witherspoon first. I thought you had to have had that success prior to getting the opportunity to do it. And when the pandemic happened, I was back home in North Dakota, where I'm from, sitting around the dining room table. I got my family, we're entrepreneurs and business people and very much dream chasers. I started to think maybe I could, do this and do it now, and there's no opportunity cost. When the world feels like it's ending, you're like, maybe I should go for it now. And I was, always raised that if you were given opportunities, it's your job, your responsibility to provide that for others. And so Pinky Promise, our mission is supporting female filmmakers of color, queer artists, and people that haven't always gotten the spotlight. And so now we're, 12 films in, been doing it for the past 3.5 years, and feel like the luckiest girl in the world to get to the coolest job, get to make movies.
12 films in 3.5 years. Sure.
Hello, I'm Steven Demler. I'm here with O Canada. I get origin story. I think I always knew I wanted to be a writer, and I grew up in an entertainment family in New York City. My mom was a Rockette. My dad was at Saturday Night Live as chief props for 47 years. So my first job was cashing cue cards when I was 15, illegally. And I knew that's what I wanted to do, and then I got to be of age and went into finance because I also really decided I love food and shelter and not having stress about those things. And did that for a long time, and then I guess we're COVID producers, if that's a thing, because when COVID hit, I was at Citigroup just doing finance and writing for myself still, and I was like, I bet I could make my team I have at Citigroup do my entire job now that I'm at home and nobody would know, and I could go start a business in entertainment. So that's what I did. I delegated my job, kept collecting my check. They can know now, I think. And I got my start by financing tax credits with who was up here first. I did a film with him, financed an incentive to learn the finance side of the business. And then, the success happened there, and it grew. Was able to raise a chunk of cash to do some more stuff, and now we put together this kind of talent, a private equity / production company, and we're building an 11-acre film studio in Dallas. We're here with O Canada. We've got a few more films. If you're familiar with the pop culture collectible company Mutant, that used to be Mondo. Myself and Elijah Wood at Spectrovision, we relaunched them this year. So we're doing a bunch of things like that. But along the way, the whole goal of Talon was kind of provide me the jewels and the ability and autonomy to be able to write without being scared of where I would live and the food I would eat. And so I pushed that forward, and this year I found myself signed by 3 Arts, to write, and it's kind of coming together, and it's about balance, but just really, really lucky, lucky timing, hard work is kind of all congealing now in this week, I guess.
Oh, perfect. Adriana. Good job.
This is Adriana Reparu. I'm here with Megalopolis. So I'm from Bucharest in Romania. I graduated from finance, and I got a chance to work in entertainment. When I graduated, I took the chance, and I switched completely careers in taking this more creative approach. First I worked in television for a number of years in competition, reality TV, Big Brother Romania, a few seasons. After that I worked on international movies for a film studio, and at some point in 2005, Francis Coppola came to Romania to film, and I actually had a chance to collaborate with him, and I think we are celebrating like 19 years of collaboration, which is amazing. And people are usually very curious how somebody from Romania got to work with Francis Coppola for so many years, and actually as a Latin producer. That's kind of my combination in production. So he asked me what is my background, and I said, and then I went to an interview, and then I had a very good recommendation from my previous job, and that was the rest is history. After a few years working in production, I realized that when having a mentor like Francis Coppola, I realized that how can I improve my sort of skill? I want to learn more things, I want to get better and better. And I'm in a territory that is somehow new to me, right? Because I only came from like the European landscape, of course, co-productions, a lot of financial deals, all these deals. But I went to UCLA, I applied to UCLA to the master program in directing. And I was very lucky, and so I got the chance to write and direct my own projects, and I fall in love with this path. So I think that the combination is incredible to be able to do your own projects, but also to work with other directors. It's incredible. And I support very much your initiative and the project, to educate and to continue to support the people that are interested in learning and developing themselves. That's really amazing. And right now I'm developing the project is female driven, and it has a good cause, I think. And continue to work with other directors. That's my path at the moment.
Excellent. I think what a ride. Quite right. Hello, I'm Daniel. I'm here with the movie The Apprentice at the festival. We have some connections. I was actually a contestant on Big Brother Romania.
There is a connection because of the main actor, the lead actor. He is Sebastian.
Sebastian
He's
is from
Romania.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah.
I actually am Canadian, even though you're NATO Canada. I don't know why you didn't call me. I know about Canada. But actually, my work story is very Canadian. I worked in forestry, and I actually. Oh, is this gone? I planted trees, and you get paid 7 cents per tree. So I learned, like, you have to keep going. You have to do another one and another one and another one, or you make like 8 cents a day. And my first tree planting, I made $24, and for working harder than I ever had in my life. And then the camp costs are $27, so I lost $3. And it's a perfect metaphor for being a film producer. And if you just sort of do the amount that you're supposed to do, you'll lose $3 every day. And so I think that mentality I learned tree planting is really what has allowed me to be, actually continue to have a company successful enough to keep going in film. I've produced a lot of movies, like over 50, and some of them have done well, and like learned from that. Some of them have done not as well, and I've learned from that. Yeah. Oh, that's great. I mean, it's great origin stories, right? Different paths, different ways, right? A lot of ways into the promised land. Let's talk about Bird. And what you talked about how the company Pinky Promise is looking to do female-driven, finding new voices and everything along those lines, looking at finding new talent. How did Bird fit into that? Like, what was the attraction there?
Well, I think that if you look at all of the films that Pinky Promise has made, they're always centered around somebody who has maybe, been on the outside or had a different experience. That's certainly the heart of the story with Bird. And also just such an incredible opportunity and privilege really to get to support Andrea Arnold, who is such a legend in the space and one of our great living female directors. And so it just made made a ton of sense. Made a ton of sense for us, and it feels like particularly special to be at Cannes competition for the first time with a movie directed by a woman. When I think last time I checked, there are fewer than 20% of the films that are premiering at Cannes are directed by women, and only 2 women in 70 years have won the Palme d'Or. So it feels it's as relevant as ever to be supporting female filmmakers, not just when they're at the height of their career like Andrea is, and also first time wins. And we run the gambit at Pinky Promise. We do it all because you can be at the top of your game and still really be in the minority. So yeah, it made perfect sense for us to get to be a part of it. And we're beyond thrilled. It's just one extended pinch me moment really to be here. So yeah.
It's awesome. It really is awesome. And Steve, with Go Canada, you have Schrader really kind of having a career renaissance the last few years, right? I mean, and doing it, it's interesting because I know a lot of the producers from Card Counter and from First Reformed, and it seems like he just keeps finding a way to get films done at a time where raising those kinds of budgets doesn't seem to be as common. Maybe it's getting a little more common now. Maybe we'll get back to it a little bit. So what was it that attracted you to that? And can you talk a little bit about how you put it together?
Yeah, sure. I think first, much like Jesse, I was like, old white men have not had an opportunity, and I want to support that. So I jumped at the chance to fund Paul Schrader's film. And aside from that, just really generous thing I did. I think what's interesting with him is that through films is the way to describe certain filmmakers like Paul Thomas Anderson is here steadily, right? Paul Schrader is all over the place. Like, the man wrote Mishima, he wrote Cat People. I don't know what's happening with him ever. But for me, it was about the opportunity to participate when I read the script. Like, he'd done 3 films that were similar, right? His Man in a Room films, First Born, Card Counter, Master Gardener. And for me, it's the same film with diminishing returns. So I read the script and I was like, man, this is different. It's personal to him. And that was what intrigued me. That was a film about a friend of his who died, who he wants to honor, and you can feel that in this in a way I did in some of the other films of his. I love some and some not, right? But so that was that. But it came together because he's very pragmatic. Like, he gets that's his situation and what he's done, and he knows who he is. So his new thing is he has a dollar amount. It doesn't matter what the script is. He will make it for $5 million now. And he will shoot it. We shot in Canada in 17 days on Long Island and in New York City. And his rule, like, that is it. He will deliver, and he will get cast at a rate that many can't, because he can tread on his name, his career, and success at this point. So some of that cash can go to crew and help us pull off 17 days of shooting for a film. And then he's just, I think his pragmatism that really made it work. When he was told you can't do this because of money, he's like, okay, and he just redoes it in a different way. And there was no preciousness about that. There's preciousness about the story, about certain things for sure. I think I've told some people I know here that when I first started actors in with him, he told me to fuck off, and I was like, yes, Paul Schrader told me to fuck off. It's a core memory. But that was it. They looked for a group of people who appreciated the situation, that he can deliver a $5 million film in 17 days, and it will be out there, and it will be completed on time, on budget, and you don't have any other say in the project. So for me, it was a mix. I actually passed on Canada when it was pitched to me here last year. At a meeting, I read the script. I was like, I love the script. where we at with the packaging and whatnot, and it was nowhere yet. They didn't know locations or where they were shooting yet. As much as I wanted to do it just because to kind of be like, I work with Paul Schrader and I like him and that's fun, I passed. And when it came back to me, it was in September, or maybe August, maybe when I came back, and they had packaged it then. So it was just a more wholesome package. Where we had Jacob and Richard and Uma and Michael Imperial and Christine Forsyth, like it was kind of outrageous. And they built the financial model, so the $5 million gross budget was really like 3-ish net. And then to simplify how it actually works in detail, like it was a bet, like can this writer with the script I read, this writer director, the script I read, and this cast, can they sell for more than $3 million? Yeah, right? And like, there's more detail, right? But at its core, I was like, yes. So I came in pretty late in the process, yeah.
That's great. That's great. It's also great to hear that that model is kind of shifting back a little bit. Adriana, 19 years with Coppola. 19 years putting this, and he's had in his head, got 40 years, right? So what was it like during that entire period from, I'm still thinking about it, I'm still putting it together, I'm still writing, we're gonna go make this freaking thing. What was it like on that, maybe that last mile, that last stretch?
Yeah, definitely. I just want to mention that I'm working with other directors as well. So I was an employee with American Zoetrope for about 10 years, and after that I switched to freelancing and doing my own projects. So I experienced working with other directors. But yeah, a little bit of background on Megalopolis, which is a $140 million plus movie, self-financed from independent film, no studio attached. All the money are coming from Francis. So he was, just before 9/11, he was in New York shooting Second Unit, which, by the way, appeared in the film, some percentage, small percentage, but he used it. It's very usable, and the technology at the time wasn't as advanced right now. So right now, technology allows to upraise and really do wonderful things with the picture. I would not say the difference. So it's a story about New York, really, but reinterpreted like New Rome and the future of the society. So he was quite stopped in a way by what happened with 9/11. He didn't think that he can tell the story anymore at that point. So he got interested in going back to like his student roots and wanted to make exactly like Paul movies that he would self-finance for about like $5 million, something that he could get very easier, let's say. And so that's how he came to Romania with a project based on a Romanian novelist. And so we worked on like 4 projects in that way. They were all co-productions with different countries in Europe. What is very interesting is that he has this amazing ability of utilizing the resources in a way that it has an incredible production value, 3-4 times more. Everything goes on screen. He is utilizing the relationship he has with his collaborators. So, there will be a lot of back end and less upfront money. So everything again goes. You can make a $3 million, $5 million movie with superstars, with A-list actors with his budget, but he can. So it's a very interesting way of producing because you're really using all the relationships, and everybody wants to participate because he allows his collaborators to be themselves and to participate so much, to bring their own interpretation. They're like so much welcome to do that, and yeah, so that was the financial part. And then an interesting thing about Francis also, whenever he goes in a foreign country, he's buying the hotel so the production can set up there. And then there's also
Buying a hotel?
yeah, he's a businessman. That's how he finances his movies. Really good money from the resorts and the winery. And that's an interesting model, right? Business model. Then, so in Argentina, the movie that we did in 2007, 2008, I was in Argentina for a year. That's how long it took the. Everything is very extensive. You know, he likes to spend the time to get the right approach, the right casting. He's not in a rush. And because of that, in a way, it's a way cheaper because you have time to find the right deals and, you know. So I would say that Donato, everybody knows. And if you're bringing somebody on board, like you said, on the last minute, it's also pretty bad. It's more complicated, you know, much more complicated. But so in Argentina, he bought a boutique hotel, but now for his movie Megalopolis, which I talking about, all the production was actually in Georgia, so he tapped into the Georgia tax credit, which was wonderful. He was also started with the post-production, he had the post-production as well. And so during the production, he was not only directing the movie, but he was also making decisions about the hotel because it was a motel before, and he completely transformed the modeling. It was a full construction for about half a year, and he was living there. He was so involved with everything. And then in post-production, the crew managed to stay there, and he created their post-production facility that we used very successfully. We did all the editorial, all the sound work. We had insert space, so we did issues there. We brought Adam Driver there. He was like in a room smaller than this one, and we shoot each other. It was great.
Crazy. How many people drink Coppola wine? You may, I'm not an attorney, but you may have the equity partner in this movie.
For sure.
Daniel, you mentioned, well, obviously the Apprentice is the filming competition, but you also mentioned that you produced over 50 films. So can you talk a little bit about what attracts you to a project and what attracted you to this one?
Yeah, well, first of all, like the filmmakers that you all are here talking about, like God bless those filmmakers and God bless all of you for risking your time and money representing. Like they're all that take chances. Like Arnold, to me, is someone that actually has been a major touchstone. Well, decades for me, like was a huge influence. Getting a huge influence on the kinds of films that I thought could be made. Obviously, Schrader is like a glorious nut bar, and you know, it takes all kinds of chances in very exciting ways. And you know, The Godfather, like, you know, Coppola is the godfather of independent filmmaking, as far as I can see. He's just has inspired all of us, and I heard his speech from last night, and it really did almost bring me to tears. Like that's how I see filmmaking. It has the potential to have that kind of deep meaning for people, and that's why I do this, is because I think there's a chance you can pierce the balloon of you know, conventional thinking and do something that truly makes people see the world in a different way. And Ali, who did The Apprentice, is I saw Border, one of his films here at Cannes a number of years ago, and I thought it was that kind of movie that took those kinds of chances and just committed all the way. And to me, that's the kind of filmmaker I'm excited by, is someone who's willing to, you know, who catches a tiger by the tail and just doesn't let go. And to me, it's also kind of like the spirit of punk rock, which to me is like, you know, an ethos that has driven me in my thinking about things in general, and in the film business in particular. And that's how I see filmmakers like this that take chances, and it's actually like kind of an extraordinary group that we're here talking about in that respect. Yeah, I mean, to me, I don't care about genre. I don't care about what was just successful in the box office, because it takes 2 years to make a movie at least. So to me, that is the silliest business model, to chase those successes, because everyone's moved on by the time you're like, oh, I finally finished it. What do you think of this? If you're just following in the footsteps of something that just happened, it's very boring. And there's so much content out there. It's mind-numbing. And to have something that, oh, that's like that thing from 2 years. How boring can you get? And so to me, that's the wonderful example of what the kind of advice not to pay attention to. Like, you have to have vision. You have to stick to it, or you don't have a fucking chance.
I love that. Love that. We could kind of end on that note. But it's a good pivot, because I wanted to talk a little bit about the business side of things as well. And when we were exchanging emails about the panel, you raised a fantastic question, Stephen. You said, what are the wrong questions to ask when you're trying to finance a film? You said, like, so when people are having conversations here, what's a bad opener besides, like, you got $3 million on you?
That's not a great opener.
That's not a great opener.
That's not that great. Yeah, I guess a higher number would be worse. I think for me, and this isn't so much a question, but for me, a bad opener is misrepresenting the state of the project, whether that's saying you have somebody attached and you don't, or like fudging the background of team members and saying like they were involved in this film franchise or this, and then you find out like they were really competent, crafty workers, and that's great, but maybe that's not the producing background they're pitching to you now. So for me, it's a transparency thing, and in this business, there's such a desire to pretend you're already there when it's okay if you're where you are. And everybody else has been there, so literally everybody will understand that and appreciate it. If you're like, this is the first time I'm going through it. You're like, super, thank you for telling me. And then go from there. There's nothing wrong with it. So I'm immediately closed off if you tell me the state of a project and cursory effort into looking into it reveals that is not true.
What about when people say, I think the budget is, what you say to somebody, okay, it sounds interesting, what's the budget? And they go, it could be 5 to 10. How about that? Like, you guys talk about, like, no, how will producers know, how will people with projects know budget-wise, where they, and not have it be ridiculous? You know what I mean? Because you hear it a lot. You'll hear, I'll hear people say it could be anywhere from 2 to 20. And I'm like, well, what the hell do we do with that, right?
Yeah, I'll let others answer too. My response usually then is like, you should hire a line producer and then let me know what the budget is. But I mean, it's kind of that simple. I don't know if you guys approach that any different.
Yeah, I could jump in this because I'm a producer.
Yeah,
I experienced working with producers where they would bring a project to me and they would say, okay, well, we have $2 million. And they would hire me, they would want to hire me 1 month before the production starts. And the budget isn't, I would look at the script and it would be like a $5 million film. They would have like miners and car chases and explosions and night shoots and all kind of animals and like everything that you would, it's expensive. Like, how can you imagine that I will do this with, and they're only 25 days. I mean, it's like I salute you so much for going with 17 days, because 17 days is like somebody that like it's a student would do, because any director nowadays that is making like, in my experience, like $5 million, under $5 million, they would fight so badly for the shooting days because it's their, their baby, and they want to have the opportunity to work with actors and to make sure they're doing a good job. So 17, but he knows very much. So yeah, but I would say that the wrong thing to do is to bring a line producer. It would be the first hire. It's like basics really is the first one of the first hires when you want to produce a film. Bring a line producer with your schedule, a budget, and you need to kind of trust that what is doing. But if you will have your trust, but also. It's very important to have a good collaboration because, of course, you're going to come with your own ideas, so the line producer will need to incorporate it and make use of everybody's feedback. Another thing I would say that okay, I had another idea, but oh yeah. So that's another thing. I could make a movie that is 5 million for 2. I absolutely could, but give me 3 months. Give me some time to discuss and to find the right approach. And I would make any movie, I can't say any, but most of the movies that you have the money for, but it needs to be realistic. You can't come with the most unrealistic thing. Then another thing that I really don't agree about, obviously, it's not very ethical, is that obviously, I kind of noticed that sometimes some producers would say, oh yeah, it's a 2 million, I know it could get to free when the budget says free, but let's go in production and we'll see. And then later on, they will, have to talk to the other people to get another million, and it's not upfront, so it's not a
Anything there? What about, I come from the school of what else? Like, we have a script, and what else? I have a script and a director, I have a script, a director, and an actor. I get it. How important is packaging now, as opposed to, we talked a little bit like the foreign sales model. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that. Is that coming back a little bit, or you knew at 3 million with that cast that you're in good shape and everything? But what about do you guys get it? Do you guys attach yourselves to projects that are just at the script, stage, or do you wait until there are some other components?
Well, we really will run the gambit at Pinky Promise from projects that we're developing in-house, and then we're going out and attaching directors and talent to it, to coming into the most final stages and really just being an equity partner. But I think that, projects, this is not an original thought, but projects that are approached with a lot of intentionality, especially considering the current sales climate for indie film, is always appreciated. People that come with a plan and how they want to maybe, break down their foreign sales through pre-sales, or attaching people they know that they can get a certain, amount of value for. That shows your investor that you're really considering the full life of the film, because the film does not just end, once you've completed your edit. And more often, you're seeing independent filmmakers as taking on even more and coming up with alternative creative ways of self-distribution and things when we're in this current situation where indie distribution is not really where it needs to be. So getting creative through the business aspect of the process, as well as the storytelling element.
And would you say that the foreign sales market, what would you say the health of it is right now compared to maybe a couple of years ago? Is there a little bit of a bounce, or are we still going after the same 5 actors? That make a difference?
It really depends on the project. I think maybe it's better. It's not great, but better. I don't really need to same 5 actors, but I think, at least the way we're approaching it, is you need to make economical movies, right? And not think that just because you have some actor people that people will turn out for it and buyers will turn up for it, right? So you need to assume kind of smaller rates and smaller numbers and approach it that way. We're in town, we're similar. We'll do a full range of projects. We'll just finance debt. And in that case, for me, I'm a little more of the finance part comes out and it's like a spreadsheet, and the number is blinky green instead of blinky red, we're up for it. if it's equity, then I have to love the script, I have to love the producers, the director, because it's so hard. And in the end, it might not work. So if I'm gonna get punched in the face for a film, I want it to be a film I enjoy, or want it to be good, and want it to get out there. But that can be early from just a script. Usually for us, it's like a script with a producer we know, or in one we're doing now, or we'll be doing in November, has a director that had been nominated for a live action for an Oscar, and it just is such a thoughtful man. And so his script and him was kind of enough to be really interested in that. So yeah, it is a pretty broad range for us as well.
Sorry, what was the question?
Yeah, we were just talking about packaging and foreign sales and putting things together. Like, where do you see the industry now as opposed to a few years back?
I mean, it's maybe ebbs and flows, but let's face it, it's a knife fight. It's a knife fight, and you have to come with only the very best thing. Like, the way I look at it is, you have to tell me, and this maybe speaks to your last question, if it's something being pitched, you have to tell me, like, why this must be made. There's no, the world needs this. And be ambitious, lofty, like for instance, the next project I want to do after, the reason, I'll pitch it to you, it's not a long pitch, but it's about mental illness. And to me, mental illness is one of the last things in the world that it's okay, where people don't even think twice about othering people with mental illness. You just do it. When you see homeless people in the street, you're like, oh, they're in another world, another category, you move on. You other them. It's one of the last places that in society actually doesn't even talk about how accepted it is to other people with mental illness. And this movie I want to do is from the perspective of someone who's discovering they have a mental illness. And to me, there is a chance that perhaps this is overly grandiose, but there's at least a minuscule chance we could change by telling the story. We could change how that's perceived. And to me, that's worth making something about, and worth adding another thing to the pile, the overabundance of audio-visual stuff that's in our faces. And you have to believe that the world needs this thing. And I don't honestly pay attention to the ebbs and flows. I just try to lock into what that thing is that makes it actually worthwhile.
I love that. I mean, that's a little applause for that. I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, the thing that I keep coming away with listening to all of you is the personal connection to the material, and the personal connection to working with really people that are new voices. Not everybody, obviously. Some people obviously been around for a long time, but I'm saying that, but that still has something to say, right? And are saying it at such a high level. So that strikes me. Who has some questions? Let's open it up to the floor. None of you. You came here with no questions at all. You just bought a badge, said, fuck it. We're gonna hang it. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. We'll take awesome.
How do you as filmmakers work in terms of drawing social impact and working along with your films? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, the question was, how do you draw in social impact along with your films?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Well, that's really a great question. That's very intrinsic to what we do. At Pinky Promise, we're very much a mission-driven company first. And so it's very organic. We have films that have, cover topics of addiction and mental illness, and then there's, we have talkbacks and conversations about, reducing the shame and the stigma. We have, films that are, talking about important issues like, gun violence in America, and there's talkbacks with those. I think it's really, everyone's hope when you're making art, as you just discussed, is to shine a light on something and spark conversation. And so I think that when we get people in the same room,
So I was
talking
pitching that to you.
get people in the same room talking about those things. It really feels like the wish fulfillment of why we do, art in the first place.
I want to comment on that too, because I actually think there's something about that gets missed about social impact, which is, and it also plays into the idea of, like, if you've heard of the term elevated genre, is like, oh, that's what we want elevated genre. And I produced the movie The Witch that was sort of a bit of a prototypical elevated genre. And so I've heard that a lot in things that get pitched to me. And I think about that in a bit of a similar way as social impact, which is that something gets missed, which is it's the wrong approach to, like, okay, elevated genre, you take a genre and you take an issue and you just put it on the genre and you kind of stack it on. It has to come naturally from the characters. Like, I think about a movie like Get Out, and people talk about it like it's like a social issue horror movie. That's not how I see it. I think he found something in character that, yeah, sure, racism, but it was part of the character, part of the story, and you can tell when that's forced. You can tell with social impact when that's forced. So don't do that.
100%. I just want to piggyback off that. Story always has to come first. I mean, that's what has to pull people in, and I think that the nature of the medium is when humans want our brains to work in story, and so if you're pulling somebody and engaging them with the story, that's when you open up their heart, make them laugh, make them cry. That's when you have the opportunity to plant seed of a new idea in there. And I think that's what makes me hopeful and excited about indie filmmaking, is because we're in a world where that can feel as divisive as ever. There are fewer and fewer spaces where people of all walks of life are getting together and sitting in the same room looking towards the screen and having a shared experience where they're voluntarily putting themselves in other people's shoes. And so there's almost something that's inherently native to the medium. It's always going to be about spreading new ideas and when you crack people's hearts open in that way. Love what you said,
Yeah, absolutely. Just want to say that sometimes I look at the script and I know it doesn't work. And one of the reasons is this, and then unfortunately we see sometimes more than one projects that are being made and they don't work because the characters are not developed, they're not coming from there. That's exactly the issue, I think, that, yeah, it needs to be a combo.
And you have all the way in the back.
All the way in the back, I'll project. So thank you all for this and sharing your knowledge. I'm a 20-year documentarian, so budget, story, got it, no problem. But the narrative space is like brand new. And what's your advice as like humans for the emotional, like when it was hard for you emotionally, what did you do? What got you through?
Meaning when the act of producing a film is difficult and...
Yeah, just you personally, when you were like just starting out, when you were doubting yourself,
Sure.
Like what was it that you're like, what got you through emotionally?
Oh, I'm dead inside and delusional. I think that's the honest answer, probably. But in an attempt to pretend I'm deeper than that, I think I knew the goal I was working after, right? I saw what it could be, and I don't know. I actually have always been very comfortable with failure. If something doesn't work, it bothers me. I'm not gonna pretend it doesn't. But I've never been like, I'm a bad person because my thing isn't what I wanted it to be. I just think I did a bad job, right? So for me, it's always been like, if I can keep going and I don't do something so wrong that I'm out, then I'm still in it. And for me, that's been very comforting. I don't know if that's helpful at all.
I would say for me, it's just always about doing the next right thing. Some putting your eyes on the horizon can be inspirational, helpful at times, but when it's really, really, really tough, sometimes you just need to look to like the next hour, minute, day, and especially in an industry where there's a lot of things coming at you from all angles, you just say, okay, what's the next right decision I can make, and just keep swimming.
For me, it's collaboration and finding direct people I'm working with, and I'm very careful and I do very good casting. And each project is different, so I'm not of an opinion to work with the same people. And you're shooting all over the world, so you can bring everybody with you. So I had to do, like in Argentina, a bunch of casting interviews in Romania and other countries. So there also I kind of took that also from Francis, is like he's treating his direct collaborators like family really, and they know each other, and the main collaborators he likes to bring them back, like the production designer, the cinematographer, producers, and so I think that for me is that I am very competitive, so for me failure is a problem. It's a big problem. So I think that that's kind of good with yeah.
There's a lot of things I could say to that, and it is like it's a roller coaster, and I've definitely had ups and downs and been demoralized, regularly within a given month and year, and you got to search for the things to keep you motivated for sure. It could be, sometimes it's just you see how an artistic vision does come together and actually resonates in that kind of magical way with audiences. That's definitely can be like, oh, okay, it's worth it. But I think something that doesn't get talked about enough, because of I think how people misperceive what producing is. And I've thought about this a fair bit over the years, is how producers support each other. And people have this like archetypical idea of a producer in their head of like cigar, hot tub, like that kind of thing. And I did come here from a hot tub and I was smoking cigars, but I do think that the camaraderie I have sometimes felt with other producers, and when I was coming up, which I still consider myself to be, how so I'm learning from other producers all the time, because there's so many partnerships, there's always some skill set someone has that you don't, and you're learning from someone, and when someone's actually generous, even though there's that archetype and there's this idea that we all have to protect our little islands, when you see someone being generous even when they don't have to, I definitely wouldn't have kept going if I didn't notice that happening.
I think it's also, you gotta be kind to yourself too. You gotta be kind to yourself. I think, for me, I'll come from a writing standpoint first. The criticism at the beginning was vicious. It was, and I of course raised against the machine. I'm like, they don't know what they're talking about, my script is genius. And it's, and it took me a while to understand, once I got that first piece of great feedback, that was validation, right? And that this is subjective, and everything we do is subjective, even as producers, a lot of, what we decide to make, what we don't make, who we partner with, all of it. But ultimately at the end of the day, it's not letting the negative punch you in the face. You know what I mean? It's a negative. You don't go from here to here. You just, okay, let me learn, what did I learn from it, right? And then when you get the validation, you don't go all the way here. You guys can get to go all the way here this weekend because, obviously the film's here, once it's on screen. But it really is. I tell people on stage, people on that platform that are introverted or feel like they have imposter syndrome, and there's constant threads about it. And I'm like, you have to be kind to yourself. You have to be good to yourself. If you're moving forward and you're self-learning, like you're taking it upon yourself to continually educate yourself, and you have to be, because this business moves at speed of sound, you know what I mean? And things shift under your, shifting under your feet as we speak, right? As long as you're staying ahead of the curve, or trying to stay ahead of the curve, and you're really putting in the honest effort, I don't feel like you have more great days than bad. And when you have a bad day, you just sit there and go, tomorrow's gonna be better, and I'm doing all the right things, and that's it. So, just be kind to yourself.
Most importantly, just people, like good people. I think that's the real value of it. It's a tool that allows you to find those people in this business and let you pour into each other back and forth. Because it's too tiring to have to keep doing that over and over and over, and then there's so many people who are not right for you. So I think that's a real value of it, is the tools provide the curation ability.
Well, I mean, the whole idea is to be able to connect people 24/7, 365, right? And that wasn't available, 15 years ago, right? So you have the opportunity to come here, having met people online and having, started to build those relationships before you ever meet in person. And I think that's a big part of what a lot of people breaking in miss. It's the piece they miss. They concentrate so much on the content, the project, the script, all of that, but they don't concentrate on the relationship building and the networking. And, I'm sure you guys can speak to the fact that you go back to the well with a lot of the same people, because it makes, as hard as it is, like you said, it's a knife fight. Two minutes of drinking? Like, okay, good. You brought up, you were saying it's a knife fight, but the knife fight does get a little bit easier when you're surrounded by people that are on your side, also holding the knives. You know what I mean? It's like when you're out there alone, back to back, right? Yeah, and you need that. I mean, so I would just encourage everybody here to, when you leave here, don't stop networking. Don't stop building those relationships, because it definitely matters. Question in the back.
When pitching a film ideas, just because you mentioned using other people's monies, how do you delineate between an idea that's original and potentially innovative versus one that's so unconventional that audiences might not embrace it?
I think that it's not even, I'm not even sure if I would say it's about the story itself. I think it's about the person in that situation that's pitching it. I think that you can tell pretty clearly if there's like an earnestness and a passion and like a need to tell something. And I think I'm not the first person to say this, nor will I ever be the last, but there's that, the adage that, the more specific you get, the more universal something becomes. So I think that's really about, I've yet to see something that's been like, oh, that's way too weird, there's no touching that. But there's people where you're like, they could be telling you a normal story that, but the way that they're telling it, you're like, I don't know that that's even like clicking for them. So I think it's about the connection between the storyteller and the idea itself, more than anything being, too strange.
I actually really like that question, because I think that's a commonly held misconception too, that just because you're, if you say I don't want to follow the rules, that means you're going to make something completely dissonant that no one's going to be able to relate to, and I don't see it that way at all. Like, just because you're like, okay, punk rock again. Like, I don't know if you all know the Ramones. If you don't, you should. But like, those are like, the Ramones songs are like Beach Boys, or like 1950s songs about love and dancing. And, to me, they weren't following the rules, but really they were going to the essence of those kinds of songs. You're going deeper. You're not like trying to get as far away from the thing as possible. You're going deeper into it and finding out what the core essentials are of it. That's, to me, what's most exciting. And you're allowed to make stuff that's dissonant for some people. That's okay. But if that's your motivation, that's actually kind of superficial and ultimately probably quite boring. All you.
So following this thread of what's innovative versus what isn't, or what's too much, I found that casting can be tough when you do have something politically edgy, and wondering how do you find the right cast. I've found it trickier maybe with women than with men trying to do politically edgy stuff. So just wondering what your comments are on that.
I can't get in trouble with politics. This will be great. I think it's what was just said is kind of applies to this. If the motivation is to create something politically edgy, you probably have something hollow, like maybe sharp along the edges, but hollow in its core.
That's
You know?
not the motivation. That's not
Well,
the
I'm just
motivation.
saying. But if that is right, but for casting, that's where it starts, right? An actor's going to read this, they're going to see it's edgy, and if they don't feel that the value, that morsel of value that could be really meaningful, because I assume something politically edgy wants to make an important point, right, from the writer-director's point of view. If the actor doesn't feel that that's the most intelligent way to do it, they're not going to risk their reputation, and potential future work to get up there and stump for a point they may believe in that they don't believe is necessarily executed well. So I think it's not so much that it's politically edgy, it's just films need to connect with the actors in an important way where they want to commit their time and their futures to it for a number of months, and then press and all this stuff that comes with it.
You're actually producing a film that is in that vein, where it's a tricky thing because not a lot of actors are going to want it, especially actors that are established, we feel will not want to take this role because they don't need to really, right? So we're looking more up and coming, somebody that wants to stretch their legs, show what they can do, and that's even been challenging. It's been challenging to find people that love the script, but that's a rough one. We get that a lot. So you're probably gonna have to bang down quite a few doors, but I totally agree. I mean, it's all about the actor's brand at the end of the day, right? It's all about where they want to take their career or not. We're wrapping it up. We're going to do cocktails. I want to thank all of you. I want to thank our amazing panelists. Let's wish them luck this week. I hope they all go home with a statue. Thank you, guys.